Hey everyone, this is Freedom Hacker AJ Raven. I'm here with my recap and review of Animal Kingdom Season number 5, Episode number 3, which is titled Freeride. Now, this was another enjoyable episode. While we saw Cody's handle Pete's job, we also got a lot of very interesting character-centric moments, especially between Deran and a married couple. And then there was also a very interesting scene concerning Joshua and the rest of his uncles. But you know what? I'll get to it in a bit. Anyway, the episode opens up with Pope waking up and he's just looking at what he did last night, which basically was scattering Smurf's ashes in the house pool. And I'm like, yeah, Pope, you did that. And I guess he couldn't just give Smurf a burial ground as he wanted to. And I actually thought that he would be able to at least bury some of the ashes in the plot that she bought, but I guess he couldn't. So anyway, he scattered the ashes in the swimming pool because I guess he wanted to stay close to her and not have her be buried underground. I have no idea why he did that. Then we cut to Deran, and he's waking up at the beach, and it looks like that he ended up having a threesome last night with this married couple, and this married couple ended up liking Deran very, very much, and as they're walking away, they're like, hey, Deran, we should, like, hook up again, and Deran's like, yeah, I guess. Maybe next time. And you can tell that in the previous episode, Deran got into drinking and burning up Adrian's stuff in order to fill the void in his heart. And this time he ended up giving casual hookups a chance. And I guess that didn't even work for Deran either. I mean, he is literally love struck. I have no idea how he's going to figure out how to move away from Adrian, especially because Adrian is still a big part of his life. Even though Adrian is in Indonesia, the DEA agent is after him, and that continues to make Deran remember Adrian. Like it would be easier to forget about your ex when you're not constantly thinking about him, or someone else isn't making you thinking about him and all of that stuff. Then we cut to Joshua, and he's talking to the phone. He wants to talk to the real estate agent, and the secretary is like, you know what? Hold up, I'll get her on the line. And while that's happening, 3 kids come in with these bicycles that Jay wanted them to steal, and Jay is like, you know what? I'll buy them from you. And then we also get the answer that from the real estate agent, because Joshua called her because he wanted to know if she has been in contact with Pamela. And the agent is like, you know what, Joshua, you have to be patient. This is a process. Pamela will contact you when she's ready. Then we have the scene where Pope is taking a shower and he's washing away all of the ash. And this was a very weird thing to see because, again, Pope isn't dealing with Smurf's death at all. He doesn't know who to talk to. He doesn't have anyone that can support him. So with ash and dirt in the shower, I was like, wait, Pope, can't you just run the water from the shower in order to wash it all away? But no, he turned off the shower and he picked up a tissue and he used that tissue to pick up the dirt and then flushed it away. And I'm like, Pope, you could have just like kept the shower running. But yeah, it's very, very weird. Then we cut to Craig and Renn, and yeah, Craig is feeling very attracted to Renn right now, and they come in to make out, and as they're making out and they're getting all hot and bothered, Nick wakes up and he cries, and yeah, it's time for Renn to feed him, and Renn is like, you know what, baby gets baby gets first dips on the boobs, so you have to wait your turn. You know what, Renn, you have your priorities straight. So while that's happening, one of Renn's clients ends up walking all the way up to the front door looking for her so that he can buy substances from her. And of course, Craig doesn't like that. He pushes the guy out and he's like, never come back to my house ever again. And because he's angry, he goes to confront Renn as she's trying to feed Nick because she has a bit of trouble making Nick latch onto her. And Craig is like, Renn, I told you to stop dealing from the house. And Renn is like, Craig, I'm feeding your child. I'm feeding our child, and I get that you're angry, but this is more important to me, so I want you to walk out of the room. And that's what Craig does. And I was like, you know what? These two need to have a talk because, of course, Renn wants to continue being a businesswoman in her own right. And yeah, Craig and her needs to talk about the finances and how she should continue doing her business. So we go into the past and we have Pam and Smurf, and Pam notices Smurf getting ready, and Smurf is like, yeah, it's just something that I'm checking out. I have a lead on a job. And Pam is like, you know what, Smurf, I'm telling you right now that if you get caught, I'm not taking care of your children. I'm going to call social services and all of that. And Smurf is like, yeah, Pam, I get it, but can I get some bus fare? Come on, I'll make it up to you and all of that. And yeah, Pam ends up giving her a $5 note. Then we cut to Deran, and he comes back to the bar, and his assistant notices Deran. Yeah, a whole lot of people are noticing that Deran isn't okay, and he isn't necessarily getting the help that he needs. And it's also not that the other people don't want to help him, it's also that Deran is a very closed off character. I think he was only very open to Adrian. He's not the most socially open person, and with Adrian gone, he doesn't really know who to talk to. Anyway, Craig comes into the bar, and this is where Deran asks Craig that what does he think about Joshua's new job? Are they okay with stealing from the cartel? Because Deran isn't. And Deran's like, you know what, I don't want to get killed because of a job. And Craig is like, hey, Deran, don't you worry, the cartel isn't even a big thing anymore. It's basically a corporation. And Deran is like, you know what, and we know that corporations don't like people stealing from them. And Craig is like, hey, Deran, chill, we're going to score big and all, and we have to do this job. Then we cut to Smurf, and she ends up meeting Manny and Jake, and I was like, yep, she has to go back to her old crew, because even though they have issues, Smurf does trust these two. This is where we find out that Jake is married and his wife's name is Cheryl. Anyway, Smurf tells them about the job. So the job is that they have to steal from Marcus's house. Marcus is the guy we saw in the previous episode, and Manny's like, are you comfortable with this job? Any security? What will we get? And Smurf is like, yeah, we will get a big payday. There's no security. Are you ready? And Jake's like, yeah, let's do this. Then we cut to the Cody house, and they're getting ready to go do Pete's job, and Joshua is fixing the bikes. He's raising the seats even though he can't move the handlebars, and yeah, you can tell that the boys are a bit hesitant about the job. They are worried about the cartel catching them, and Joshua is like, hey, according to Pete, we don't have anything to worry because the people to whom the plane belonged to, they are a day behind from us. And Darren was like, hey, we'll be able to find the plane. And yeah, they have the transponder. And Joshua is basically telling his uncles to chill. They can do this job. And if they do get caught or someone gets suspicious, they can just come off as people mountain biking in that region. And Craig isn't comfortable on the bikes because, of course, Craig is a very tall dude, and he's like, yeah, I don't think that I'll be comfortable riding this bike, but they have to do it. And this is also where Deran ends up noticing something up with Pope, and because Pope says something, I can't really remember, but he says something very specific about where he found the new vehicle or something, and yeah, Deran notices that something is up with Pope. So we go back into the past, and Manny ends up distracting one of the maids after breaking one of the sprinklers, and that allows Jake and Smurf to get into the house and start stealing. So it's time for them to go and find the airplane. And again, this is where Deran asks Pope if he's okay. And Pope is like, yeah, I'm okay. And I'm like, Deran, you really need to talk to your older brother because both of them are hurting in different ways. And maybe talking together might end up giving them some clarity or some comfort. But yeah, let's see what happens. So this was a very funny scene because even though Manny ends up distracting one of the maids, there is another maid who ends up coming closer to Smurf, and Smurf is like, uh-oh, I have to think of something, and she ends up acting as if she ended up hooking up with Marcus last night, and she takes off her shirt, and the maid comes in, and Smurf is like, hey, Marcus told me that I could stay over, and is it okay for you? And the maid is like, yeah, excuse me, I have to get I'll leave you be. And Smurf gets up immediately, and she's like, yeah, we need to get out of here. She grabs Jake and they leave. I think they would have stolen more because they did have 3 minutes to steal, but with the other maid roaming around, Smurf is like, you know what, we got what we could, let's get out of here. While Joshua, Deran, and Craig are handling the job, Pope ends up looking at this hawk. I think this is a hawk. I'm not the best with birds, but this looks like a hawk to me. I could be wrong. So the hawk is eating this bunny, and this relates to what young Pope saw during one of his nature documentaries. And he was like, "Hey, mommy, it's eating the bunny." And Smurf basically told him that, "Yep, that's the law of the animal kingdom. One has to die so the other could live." And yeah, I think Pope realizes that. Smurf had to die so that they could live, because Smurf would have killed Pope. I really think that Smurf would have shot Pope if Joshua didn't shoot her in the previous season. So Deran and Joshua are trying to figure out where the plane is while using a drone, and they do end up finding the plane, and they're like, "Yep, let's go." We also get I have to say that we got some cool sequences of the men riding their bikes and mountain climbing, and it looked very cool. So they find the plane, and surprise, there's a dead body in the plane, and Craig and Deran is like, "Joshua, you knew about the dead body?" And Joshua is like, "Nope." So they end up finding the drugs. And Deran is like, "Hey Joshua, you said there would be money," and Joshua just remains silent. And they can't even take all of the drugs with them, so they get what they can. And while they're doing this, they notice another drone, and Craig is like, "Hey, that's not my drone." And Craig tries to shoot down the drone with a shotgun, and I'm like, "Craig, you can't shoot down a drone with a shotgun. You need a handgun or something." So someone ends up shooting at them, and they take cover, and they're like, "Yeah, we need to run out of here. Other people are coming." So they take the drugs. The amount of drugs they took, I'm not really sure how much it was, but anyway, as I said, they take what they could, and they run off on their bikes. And it turns out that two people are after them. They're shooting them. I'm not really. Yeah, they don't look connected to the cartel. They might be just people in the area who noticed the plane crash, and they were like, "Hey, it could give us the loot that we want." Anyway, the boys end up calling Pope, and they're like, "Hey, two people are after us. You have to take care of them." And Pope comes in with the car, and he ends up taking down one of the men, but the other person is able to run away from Pope. And he continues to go after Joshua and the rest, and he continues to shoot them and all of that stuff. And while they're running away, Craig's bike ends up getting damaged, and Joshua is like, "Hey, don't worry, I can fix this." So this was a very intense scene, because they do end up getting shot at, and Joshua is trying to, he works as fast as he can, and Joshua is able to fix the bike, and the three keep on riding. And this is where they stop, because this is a very steep cliff, and they're like, "Hey, what now? We can't just go back, and the other person is going to catch up to us." And Joshua's like, I guess we have no other choice but to do this." And Joshua ends up jumping from the cliff. And he is able to make the landing, and Deran is like, "Yep, I'm next." And that happens, and Craig is like, "Okay, I guess we're doing this." And I actually thought that Craig was going to get hurt or something, but no, all three of them are able to make the jump. And they end up meeting Pope, and they get into his car, and they run away with the drugs. Then we go back into the past, and this is where Smurf is like, "Hey, why don't I take the money, and Jake and Manny, you take the jewelry and you sell it off?" And Manny is like, "Wait, why?" And the Smurf is like, "Well, if someone says that they saw a pretty girl with all of your stolen jewelry and cash, they'll remember me. However, they won't remember Manny." It was basically, she threw some shade at Manny. And Smurf takes Marcus's gun as well, and Manny is like, "Hey, why are you taking the gun?" And Smurf is like, "I own this. Like, I earned this during the job." So yeah, Smurf takes the money, she takes the gun, and she walks away, and she's like, "You know what, sell the jewelry, it will get you like $6,000 or something, and I have to go back." And as she's walking away, Jake goes to talk to her, and Jake is like, "Hey Smurf, are you okay? How are the kids?" And Smurf is like, "Yeah, I'm okay. The kids are kids." And Jake basically can notice that Smurf is tired. She isn't necessarily living the life that she wanted to. And Smurf is like, "You don't have to worry about me. I'm okay." And yeah, I like Jake, because you can tell that Jake really loves Smurf. And I guess we'll get to know more about the relationship, because we know that Jake is Craig's father. So they have to hook up in the near future or something for Craig to be born, yeah, right? So we're back at the Cody house, and this is where Deran is like, "Hey Joshua, you knew about all of them being drugs, right? And you lied to us. There was no money involved." And Joshua is like, "Yeah, I would have told you, but I thought that you would figure it out." And as these two are talking, Deran is like, "Hey Joshua, what else are you hiding from us? Because you already have this deal with Pete and how to move all of this stuff. So are you hiding anything else?" And this is where Pope chimes in, and Pope is like, "You know what? I have to tell you both." He's referring to uh, Greg and Deran. He's like, "I have to tell you about that. Joshua also has a bowling alley. He also has a laundromat, and he also has a condo. And he bought all of those three things with Smurf's money. He stole from Smurf." And Deran's like, "You stole from us?" And Joshua's like, "No, there's a difference. I stole from Smurf." And Deran tells Joshua that no, Joshua, it's the same thing. And he walks away. And as Greg is walking away, Joshua is like, "Hey Greg, I did it for all of us." And I'm like, "Joshua, wait right here. At this point, you're trying to gaslight your uncles, and it's not going to work." And Greg is like, "Yeah, it's BS. You did it for yourself. You didn't do it for us." And he walks away as well. And before to go home, Deran and Greg have a conversation. And because Deran doesn't like Joshua keeping things from him, and Greg is like, "Hey, you know what? Just think about the big payout we're going to get from this grunt job and just relax." And Deran can't relax. And this is where Deran tells Greg that, "You know what? The DEA agent who busted Adrian, he came to me at the bar and he was talking about Adrian. He wants me to tell him where Adrian is." And Greg is like, "Hey, chill, Deran, chill. There's nothing for you to be worried about. The DA agent will disappear if you ignore him." And yeah, Deran is actually anxious because the DEA busted Adrian because of drugs, and now they have this entire stack hiding inside the house, and Deran isn't comfortable. And Greg tries to make him relax. And yeah, as far as the Adrian thing is concerned, I don't think that Deran is going to give Adrian away. Maybe he will. You know what? Maybe. Just maybe, because Deran is missing Adrian. Maybe he'll tell the DEA where Adrian is, and then Adrian will go to jail, and Deran will also go to jail or something, so that he could be close to Adrian. Or maybe he'll make weekly visits to Adrian because he just wants to be close to Adrian. I don't know. I'm just thinking about a very messed up scenario considering the emotional state that Deran is in. So we cut back to Joshua and Pope. And also, yeah, before I talk about Joshua and Pope, I'm like, you know what? Greg and Deran, even though you don't like how Joshua is handling things and how he's hiding things from you, I'm like, frankly, Joshua is the only one who can handle all of the real estate things and all of the legal stuff without getting caught. So maybe cut him some slack, because he is trying to continue the Cody business, and you might need to just accept that he's smarter than you both and he can handle this stuff. So maybe support him instead of being confrontational. But yeah, anyway, Joshua is like, "Hey, Uncle Pope, why did you tell..." He doesn't say Uncle Pope, I just added it. He's like, "Pope, why did you tell Deran and Greg about my laundromat and bowling alleys and all of that stuff?" And Pope is like, "Yeah, they just had to know. I thought that they needed to know," because Joshua is like, "I would have told them when the time was right," and we just know that Joshua is lying. So Pope stands up and he asks Joshua about what he did and how he handled his mom's death. Joshua is like, "Well, I came here," and Pope is like, "No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something else." And Joshua is like, "What are you talking about? Why don't you be more specific?" And Pope is like, but Pope isn't able to basically verbalize his emotions, and as far as I can tell, I do think that Pope and Joshua need to talk, and I get why Pope is trying to connect with Joshua over how to handle the death of your mother. But then again, even though Joshua's mom died, Joshua knew that she was going to die someday because she used a lot. And the fact that Smurf ended up taking him under her wing, she gave Joshua a direction, and that allowed Joshua to be distracted after the death of his mother. And the same distraction isn't being given to Pope, so he continues to think about Smurf and how he's all alone. And also, in my opinion, Joshua, when he came to the Cody house, he wanted to take revenge because of how Smurf handled or treated his mom. So that also gave him a direction. He is basically still playing an angle right now as well, in my opinion. So yeah, Joshua has certain goals and aims that he wants to achieve. While Pope basically doesn't have anything in his life, he's still trying to figure out who he is now that Julia and Smurf are no more. So we go back into the past, and this is where Pam and Smurf have a very serious talk, because Pam is like, you know what, Smurf? I know that you stole from Marcus's house, and I just left that life away. I don't want any part of it. And Smurf is like, why are you being so upset about this? It was just a single job. And Pam is like, no, I need my finder's fee, because you wouldn't have found out about that house if I didn't tell you about it. So as Smurf gives Pam her finder's fee, this is where also Pam is like, you know what, Smurf, take the kids and get out of my house, because I don't want anything to do with that life. And Smurf takes the children and she walks away. She is disappointed, and I'm like, wait, so if these two ended up having a fight, then why did Smurf leave everything to Pam in her will? I guess these two will reconnect down the line, because and Pam will do something very huge for Smurf. Or something. You know what, I'm looking forward to seeing how these two reconnect, because there has to be a reason why Smurf left everything to her, even though they just had a fight in this episode. So Deran is in the bar, and the married couple comes back to him again. They want to hook up with him again. And I'm like, you know what? I have a feeling that this isn't going to turn out well for you both. And that's exactly what happens, because you can tell that the married couple, they just come across as obnoxious, as annoying. And you can tell that they're just looking at Deran not as a person, but as a sex toy. Something that they can use, and you'd know that Deran doesn't like being used. He was being used by Smurf, and now he's being used by the couple, and he doesn't want that. And also, I think because Deran is hurting inside, and there's this line, right? The statement that hurt people. So I take it that seeing this married couple, he is again reminded of Adrian, because you just know that Deran wanted to marry Adrian and wanted to live their life as husbands, and maybe even adopt a couple of kids down the line. And he looks at the married couple, and I think he wants to hurt them, because if he couldn't have his marriage with Adrian, he doesn't want other people to have that either. So yeah, it was a very weird scene when because yeah, as I said, you could just tell that Deran was going to cause trouble. Then we cut to Craig and Renn, and this is where they again have a conversation about Renn doing her business from inside the house. And Craig is like, Renn, I need you to quit, because I can support you both. And I understood where Craig was coming from, because Craig is like, hey, Renn, just look at it from my perspective. If a father ends up going to jail, the kid can still be raised by the mother. However, if a mother ends up going to jail, it messes up the kid. And Renn understands what Craig is coming from, but Renn is also like, you know what, Craig, I don't like being supported by anyone. I can support myself, I can support my kid. And I'm like, yeah, these two still need to talk about how to raise Nick, and how Renn can continue her business. So it turns out that after leaving Pam's house, Smurf ended up calling Jake, and Jake came running, because again, Jake still loves Smurf, and he picks up the kids and he places them in the back of the truck, and he's like, Smurf, where to? And Smurf is like, Oceanside. So yeah, this is how Smurf ended up at Oceanside. And then we cut to Deran, and he's hooking up with the married couple in his office. And yeah, the married couple, you can tell that these two want to hook up with other people together, where all of them are participating. And Deran, in his very weird power play, he tells one of the husbands to back off and just watch. And as Deran is getting ready to hook up with the other husband, the first husband that he just told to, who he wanted to just stand still and watch, he ends up becoming uncomfortable, and he's like, hey, baby, we need to get out of here. But the other person, who is already bent over for Deran, he's like, no, I want this, I need this. And Deran ends up doing the deed with the other person, with the second husband. And the first husband, because he's feeling uncomfortable, he just walks away. And the look of satisfaction on Deran's face, because yeah, he messed up their marriage because he wanted to hurt those two. Because again, there's the Adrian thing, and there's also the thing that Deran didn't appreciate them both looking at him as an object that they could use for their own satisfaction. So we cut to Pete and Joshua at the beach, and Joshua is like, hey, we did your job, so I'll bring all of the drugs to you tomorrow. And Pete is like, whoa, wait. I told you that I'll move the substances. I didn't tell you that I'll keep the substance. So Joshua's like, so how long will it take for you to move all of it? And Pete is like, I just need to find one buyer because I'll sell it all in bulk, in wholesale. So he's like, good job, Joshua. Nice working with you, and I'll be in contact. So yeah, the Codys have a whole lot of drugs hidden in their house, which can turn very, very ugly if the DEA ends up getting a warrant to search the house or something. So this is also where Joshua ends up meeting this girl, Natalie, who ended up... Yeah, it turns out that Natalie knew Joshua as well as Nikki. And this is where we find out that Nikki ended up marrying a Marine and living at a base somewhere. And I'm like, you know what? I'm happy for Nikki. Similar to Adrian, because Adrian couldn't live in the dangerous world that the Codys belong to, Nikki definitely couldn't live in the same world either because she ended up becoming an addict. She ended up shooting herself accidentally. It was just a mess, and yeah, it's good for Nikki to stay far away from Joshua and his family. As far as Natalie is concerned, and I'm like, Natalie, I know that you think that Joshua is very smart and you have a crush on him, and I guess Natalie also ends up wanting to hook up with him, which basically I guess these two did hook up in this episode. We'll find out in episode number 4 if they wake up together. And I'm like, yeah, Natalie, I know that you want to hook up with Joshua, but you know what? It's a very, very, very risky move. So we cut to Deran. Deran, after doing the deed with the second husband, is like everything is coming to him right now. He's realizing what he just did, and he's like, you know what? I think I screwed up big time with my husband. And Deran is like, you know what? I don't have time to listen to you mope around. I need you to get out of the office. And the husband leaves. So yeah, Deran ends up. He kind of wins in the situation. He gave the couple what they wanted, but on his own terms, and that kind of destroyed their marriage or something. It at least caused a lot of drama, and Deran is happy about it. I'm not really sure he was satisfied. Like, you can still tell that he's sad about Adrian. So let's count it down. Burning Adrian's stuff didn't help him. Drinking didn't help him. Casual hookups didn't help him. Hurting other people didn't help him. So let's see what Deran ends up deciding what to do next. So we see Pope looking at what he did last night with Smurf's ashes in the camera recordings, and yeah, he did end up spreading them in the swimming pool. And we also notice a trail of ash going towards Smurf's room, and this is where we find out that Pope ended up scattering some of the ash on Smurf's mattress, and this is where Pope lies down on the mattress, and the episode ends. And yeah, as I said, Joshua had a goal, had an aim to complete when Julia died. So he had a distraction, but that's something that Pope doesn't have. Pope is basically like lost in the wind. He doesn't know what to do. But so yeah, let's see what happens. Anyway, I will be doing a written review of this for the Geekiary. The link to that will be down in the comment section below. Let me know what you thought of Animal Kingdom season number 5, episode number 3. And yeah, until next time, stay happy, stay safe, stay blessed. See you guys later. Bye.